And so I wanted to share with you guys some of my HR takeaways from the Who TF Did I Marry series. There are 3 of them that I want to share with you. The first takeaway is red flags are always there from day one, but we often choose to ignore them. As I listened to the story, it was very clear from the very beginning of the relationship that they were very obvious red flags, and she chose to ignore them. The same is when you go into a workplace that is discriminatory, hostile, and or toxic. The flags are often there even in the job interview phase. And so many of us are so desperate for that good job that we think is that good job that we ignore the red flags. And then we get in a situation and again feel stuck and are afraid to leave it. The second takeaway is she married this man despite all the red flags that came before, just like many of us accept jobs from very obviously toxic employers that are very clearly problematic, even in the job interview phase. People will say things in interviews, you ask questions, when you hear things, and I've done videos about very obvious red flags, when people say in interviews, we're a family, that's a big red flag. When people talk about needing people that can multitask, that's a big red flag, right? They need people that are going to be, multitaskers and flexible and always available. That means there's no boundaries and they expect you to work all hours of the day and night, right? These are things that are obvious red flags that people often ignore, and then they get in situations that are very problematic. And so I thought that, as I listened to her talk about all the things that happened, even before she married this man, they're very obvious red flags. And I was listening and wondering, well, how in the world did she end up married to this guy? Because she's telling all these things that happened even before she married him. And yet she still married this man. So there are often very obvious red flags that we choose to ignore, right? Even though they're very, very clear and very in our faces. The last takeaway for me was a person or a job should only get one time to lie or mislead you or disrespect you before you start mapping your strategy to get out of that relationship. You should not wait until multiple things happen before you decide to leave. As I listened to this woman, so there were obvious red flags. She chose to ignore them, whether out of fear or multiple other considerations. And she allowed this man to lie in her face and play in her face over and over again. And a lot of us do the same thing in our workplace. We let people play with us. We let people lie, mislead us, tell us things that are not true, promise us things that they never deliver on. And I've had people come to me and be like, I've been working in this space for 5 years, 15 years, 20 years. And I'm like, why would you stay in a situation like this for so long? And fear is a big part of it. And I really want us to understand that there's no reason to be afraid to leave a job or a bad relationship. But a lot of us are always afraid of what's on the other side, and the devil we think is the best one. And that's not true. You shouldn't be willing to put up with any type of devil. Right? And so as in workplaces and as in relationships, the first time someone lies, disrespects, misleads you should be the only chance they get. There shouldn't be multiple instances where you keep giving them a pass and ignoring the behavior and pretending that it's going to go away. So for me, those were very clear takeaways from watching this video series. The red flags were there from day one. She married him despite the red flags, and she allowed him to lie and disrespect her and play with her over and over again before she put a stop to it. And so often, many of us in work situations do the same thing. So these, there are lots of lessons and takeaways from this video series that you can apply also to your professional life as well as your personal life. And the bottom line is boundaries. And I talk about boundaries all the time. Have boundaries. Set boundaries, keep boundaries, and pay attention to red flags. You don't need to have 50 gazillion of them to act. Really, the first time someone gets out of order tells you a whole lot about them, and it tells you a whole lot about yourself. So if you haven't watched the video series, these are the takeaways that I think are very applicable to dealing with HR situations. And don't forget that if you believe that you're in a discriminatory hostile work environment, you can walk away, many cases, cash out with coin from your employer. Check out my online course, which is on sale this February 2024, marked down from $599 to $199 through February 29, how to ask for an exit from a discriminatory hostile work environment with cash and actually get it. I teach you how to identify, document, communicate, and then negotiate your way out of discriminatory hostile work environment. So this is your opportunity to get access to that information at a really great sale price. I'm Anne-Marie, the Anti-HR HR lady. HR is not your enemy, but they're definitely not your friend. I am. I'll see you in the next video.